When students first learn about the fall of the Roman Empire, it is often framed as a story of collapse, of roads falling into disrepair, cities shrinking, and imperial authority evaporating in the West. But this chapter invites us to see something more complex and more historically accurate. What followed Rome's decline was not simply chaos, but transformation. Power did not disappear, it was reconfigured. By the 5th century, the Roman Empire had lost its ability to govern the Western Mediterranean effectively. Political authority fragmented, armies became localized, and imperial institutions weakened. Yet in the East, Roman structures endured. What changed was how authority justified itself. Where emperors once ruled primarily through law, military command, and civic loyalty, rulers increasingly grounded their legitimacy in religion. This shift marks one of the most important transitions of late antiquity. Imperial power began to speak the language of faith. Religion as political authority. As centralized imperial systems strained under economic pressure, demographic change, and external threats, religion emerged as a powerful stabilizing force. Religious institutions provided continuity where political ones faltered. Clergy offered moral authority, communal identity, and administrative experience. Sacred texts supplied laws, values, and narratives of legitimacy. Rulers did not merely tolerate religion, they embedded it into governance. Kings and emperors portrayed themselves as defenders of the true faith, chosen or favored by God, responsible not only for order on earth, but for the spiritual well-being of their subjects. Political obedience increasingly overlapped with religious loyalty. This was not simply propaganda. In a world where literacy was limited and civic identity was weakening, religion offered meaning, coherence, and a sense of belonging that imperial bureaucracy alone could no longer provide. From classical empire to faith-based legitimacy, under classical imperial models, authority rested on Roman law, citizenship, taxation, and military command. In the post-Roman world, these foundations gave way to faith-based legitimacy. Power was no longer justified primarily by conquest or constitutional tradition, but by religious alignment. In the Eastern Mediterranean, the Roman imperial tradition survived as the Byzantine Empire, but with a crucial difference. Emperors ruled as Christian monarchs. Orthodoxy became inseparable from imperial identity. Religious unity was treated as a matter of state security, and theological disputes were political crises. To the east, the Sasanian Empire offered a parallel model. Persian kings drew authority from Zoroastrian tradition, ruling as divinely sanctioned monarchs charged with maintaining cosmic order. Here again, faith and governance reinforced one another. Across regions, we see the same pattern. Religion was no longer adjacent to power, it was foundational to it. An interconnected Afro-Eurasian world. Crucially, these transformations did not occur in isolation. The worlds of Byzantium, Persia, Arabia, and Africa were deeply interconnected through trade, diplomacy, warfare, and religious exchange. Ideas moved along caravan routes and sea lanes just as goods did. In East Africa, the Christian kingdom of Axum controlled Red Sea trade and maintained diplomatic ties with Byzantium. In southern Arabia, Jewish and Christian communities shaped local politics. In Arabia itself, tribal societies were embedded in wider imperial and religious networks long before the rise of Islam. What emerges in this chapter is not a story of isolated civilizations, but of overlapping worlds, where empires competed, collaborated, and borrowed from one another, and where religion became the shared currency of legitimacy. Why this matters. Understanding this transformation helps us see that the Middle Ages did not begin with darkness or decline, but with adaptation. Faith-based empires were not weaker versions of Rome. They were responses to new historical realities. They laid the groundwork for the political, religious, and cultural systems that would dominate Afro-Eurasia for centuries.